Hello everyone and welcome to the finale of What If Makeshift joined the Autobots. So without further ado, let's get right to it. So we start this part off on Cybertron, which has just been revived, where Shiftus Prime explains to his team, "Our advantage will not last long. The Decepticons will surely detect Cybertron's revival through their scanners. I shall go and retrieve the Allspark so we may bring life back to our planet. And once life is brought back to Cybertron, our enemies may likely have no choice but to surrender." To which Shiftus Prime goes, and he leaves Ultra Magnus in charge, taking his ship into space. Ultra Magnus is then like, "Alright Autobots, prepare defensive positions. Our planet's structures have been revitalized, meaning we'll have enough weapons to combat any Decepticon invasion." To which the Autobots go around and begin activating Iacon City's defenses. And soon enough, the Nemesis warship comes into view. And out of the warship flies Dreadwing with the entire Insecticon hive and Predicon, Skylance, and Darksteel. And all we hear is Decepticons attack. Dreadwing flies to Ultra Magnus and starts combating him on the ground. Ultra Magnus says, "Surrender, Dreadwing. You and your Decepticons will fail, just like Megatron." "Oh, Ultra Magnus, I think you and your Autobots are gonna be the ones to fail. After all, I'm only here to distract you." The makeshift clone then makes himself known, "For the real threat is not out here, but in there." We then see all of Iacon's defenses shut down. And then Dreadwing comes on out running with Red Energon and aims his blaster shooting at Ultra Magnus, which causes him to go down wounded. Dreadwing is about to finish him off, and Smokescreen runs on up. And all Dreadwing does is go into slow motion and literally impales Smokescreen in the chest, killing him. For the glory of the Decepticon cause. All hail Megatron. Ultra Magnus is on the ground and he sees Smokescreen dead. And then Dreadwing walks up to him. "Once I have terminated you, I will exterminate every single Autobot that remains and ensure that Cybertron falls under the Decepticon heel alone." Ultra Magnus grunts and is about to accept his fate. However, he looks at something flying into the atmosphere. Dreadwing takes notice to this and looks up. And Arachnicron comes in flying. We could say her spider legs formed like a vortex which flew her to Cybertron. And with the mixture of Arachnid's voice plus Unicron, she says, "Cybertronians, you are now in the presence of the almighty Unicron. May this day mark the extinction of an entire race and the destruction of my arch nemesis, Primus." Dreadwing then enters slow motion using the Red Energon, and he goes to try to take a strike at Arachnicron. However, he notices Arachnicron is not affected by the Red Energon's effects, and all Arachnicron does is wave her hand up, and she literally absorbs the Red Energon out of Dreadwing's systems, and it's like an orb within her hand, and all she does is simply destroy it, and it's gone. And she throws Dreadwing, but Breakdown catches him. Breakdown is then like, "Dreadwing, I've dealt with Unicron before, and the only way we beat him was by Optimus and Megatron teaming up. And trust me, if they were here, they would do the same thing again. So if you really want to follow in Megatron's footsteps, then join forces with us. Only together could we defeat Unicron." Dreadwing is then like, "Very well. Decepticons, turn your attention to our guest here." And so Dreadwing orders the Nemesis warship to open fire on Arachnicron, and the Predicons attack too. But Arachnicron uses her athleticness to dodge all the Predicons' attacks and turn their momentum against each other, causing them all to go down. As to which she merges all of her spider legs, which forms a Dark Energon beam, and it is blasted at the warship, which causes it to go down. The remaining Viacons that were manning the ship die in the crash, and the Decepticon miner meets his end as well. Dreadwing is then like, "No!" Arachnicron then lunges at Windcharger, pinning him and stabbing him. Rotorstorm opens fire, but Arachnicron just webs him up, and these webs are made of Dark Energon, and we could say that they start to dissolve and melt into him, slowly killing him. To which Breakdown is then like, scrap, and then he begins trying to drag Ultra Magnus out of there. Dreadwing looks back at this, and then he slowly starts seeing all of the Insecticons die off. Dreadwing then thinks to himself, the only way to beat Unicron is by living as much as we can. And so he goes and helps Breakdown, dragging Ultra Magnus away. And the last remaining Makeshift clone realizes Dreadwing is correct. The only way to survive this is to unite. And he follows. Arachnicron is then like, cowards, they must be afraid of me. She then turns to Predicon, Skylynx, and Darksteel as they are on the ground. Such powerful creatures indeed. It would be a shame if power such as this fell into the wrong hands. And then she reads their minds, learning of the Predicon graveyard. And what better way to use them to destroy this very planet? The three Predicons then get back up. We shall defend our ancestors with every inch of spark left within us. And then they charge at Arachnicron. And then Arachnicron uses her arm cannons and they shoot beams of dark energon, killing all three Predicons. And then Arachnicron just heads towards the Predicon graveyard. Breakdown, Magnus, Dreadwing, and the Makeshift clone all retreat into a building within Iacon City and try to make contact with Shiftus Prime. So now we cut to Shiftus Prime, who is likely using Megatron's alt mode and maneuvering through the asteroid belt to get the Allspark. And once he returns to Ultra Magnus' ship, he receives their message that Unicron has returned in possession of Arachnid's body, and he is here on Cybertron. To which Shiftus Prime sets a course for Cybertron at light speed. To which Arachnicron gets to the Predicon graveyard and begins reviving every single Predicon there into Terracons, and begins leading them towards the Well of Allspark. The past shall consume the future, the dead shall consume the living, and chaos shall reign supreme. Arachnid is then like, thank you so much, Unicron, for all this power. Now you may leave my body and leave me to conquer this universe. Unicron then begins to torture her, taking her down. You shall possess nothing. I brought you back as a vessel to destroy my arch nemesis, Primus. Arachnid is then like, no, Cybertron and Earth are mine to conquer. Fool! And Unicron begins torturing her spirit, similar to how he did Megatron in canon. And so the other four take notice to this. And Ultra Magnus is healed up since the structures of Cybertron were fully regenerated, thus they likely had faster ways to heal him up. And so the other four head to the Well of Allsparks to stand their ground. And so they each equipped a relic that we've seen in TFP. The Makeshift clone takes the Resonance Blaster, Dreadwing uses the Phase Shifter, Ultra Magnus with the Apex Armor and the Immobilizer, and Breakdown with the Polarity Gauntlet. And they stand their ground at the Well of Allsparks, utilizing all their relics on Arachnicron's Terracon army. They hold up against the Terracon army pretty well. That is until Arachnicron decides to join the battle, as to which the Terracon army starts making their way into the Well of Allsparks. These four remaining characters use their relics on Arachnicron to try to slow him down or somehow shut down his link to the Terracon army. However, he's too unstoppable right now. As to which Arachnicron begins to sense something. A familiar resonance. Pure energy. Not like Primus, one I have not encountered since ancient days. The Allspark. Shiftus Prime sees this, and he puts Ultra Magnus' ship on autopilot to keep on going no matter what. And he takes out the Starsaber and jumps out to confront Arachnicron. And Arachnicron summons up a Dark Starsaber lookalike to combat the Starsaber, and during one of the swooshes, Ultra Magnus' ship does go down. The Makeshift clone then runs to the wreckage, and he sees the Allspark. As to which he looks at the battle with Arachnicron fighting Shiftus Prime, and then he thinks to himself, there's only one way. And then we cut back to the fight, to which the two are distracted by a jet flying off, with the Allspark in hand. To which Arachnicron uses her spider legs, shoots a beam at Shiftus Prime, and flies at the makeshift clone Megatron and swooshes him with the Dark Star Saber energy. As to which the makeshift clone reverts back, holding the Allspark. Arachnicron then snatches it. I shall devour your Allspark whole. It's empty. What? A trick! And then Unicron's energy is sucked out into the Allspark, and the Terracons begin to blow up. To which Shiftus Prime looks at his clone as he morphs into different characters. Did you? And then his clone says, yes. I put the Allspark's energy into my spark in order to save our planet. And Shiftus Prime tells his clone, you're a hero, you know that? And the makeshift clone says, no, actually, you're the hero. And then he walks off to the edge. Remember me. He then jumps in, restoring life back to Cybertron. And then we see Arachnid trying to sneak off. Ultra Magnus and Dreadwing slap cuffs onto her and pin her down. Ultra Magnus then says, first off, your trial. Then we will talk about your release. Arachnid's then like, God, please, just kill me already. And then Dreadwing says, no, not even you. There's been enough killing. Breakdown then says, hey guys, look at that. And the new generation of Cybertronians approach them. And they look to Shiftus Prime. And Shiftus Prime looks at everybody. All are one. And that is the story of what if Makeshift joined the Autobots. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this story. And I'll see you guys in the next wave. Starting off with what if Jazz was in Transformers Prime. See you guys then.